Hi, and welcome to Time Caregiver Confessions. I'm your host, Cami. This is a space for every time caregiver trying to figure it all out, from managing the overwhelm to finding little moments of calm in the chaos. Each week, we'll unpack real stories, practical tips, real confessions, and a few honest laughs about what it's really like to step into caregiving for the first time. So take a deep breath. Whew. You're in good company. Let's get into today's confession. Hey guys, welcome back. So today's confession, preparing for the future, emotionally and practically. Caregiving, like I've mentioned before, is one of the hardest things you'll ever do. But also being unprepared will make it that much harder. And what do I mean specifically? Emotionally and the practicality of getting prepared for end of life transition, decisions need to be made, and having some of those things in place and decided and prepared will make it easier. So, one of the things that you'll come to realize and understand as we get older and also going through this caregiving journey is accepting the uncertainty of life and change on this journey. So, currently in the now, in the present, as we're actively caregiving for our loved ones and our parents, think about budgeting the cost of bringing in-home care or senior living care or nursing care down the line. Because if you're fortunate, in the best case scenario, maybe you're caregiving for a parent that maybe doesn't have maybe one or two chronic ailments. Maybe they have high blood pressure and diabetes or something, but they're otherwise active, moving around. They're living with you, so they're not alone. That might be like the best case scenario. On the other hand, you could have a scenario like similar to us where you're dealing with a parent that has an array, multiple, half a dozen to a dozen ongoing chronic conditions, and the health of your parent is slowly deteriorating, and in the future it's going to be way more than only one person living with him can handle. Like, it'll require nursing home type of quality care down the line. So one of the things I could say in the now is explore all your options. Explore senior daycare options. Explore home care or care.com. Someone coming to the home for senior care. There's care.com. There's home. I think it's called homeinstead.com. But there's plenty of other senior at home organizations or companies that you can explore. Also, explore tools and resources to help your caregiving journey. Include things like different apps in terms of tools, things like bed rails, shower chairs, everything from those physical tools to senior care groups and senior transportation. So you want to look at all those information. Senior groups like senior daycare. There's also senior groups like based on activity, like active senior groups, and then other groups where seniors are not so active. Also, believe it or not, check your local library. Sometimes your local library has a lot of activities and things going on that seniors can participate on and be a part of, and a lot of times they're free. Also, with transportation, I know we're in the Northeast, and there are things like Access Link, New Jersey Transit Access Link. There's local community or county senior ride programs. There's Uber and Lyft. I think even like the company Lively, they actually do like flip phones for seniors, like Jitterbug flip phones for seniors. They actually do coordinate with Lyft and Ride for senior rides as well, in terms of getting your parent around either just recreationally or to their doctor's appointments. But you want to look at all these different types of resources that helps your senior live an active life or get to where they need to go or maintain and get to their appointments. Now, thinking down the line, This would be like part two. The other half of the discussion is practicality, thinking down the line when we're talking about legalities and end of life transition discussion. I'm talking about paperwork and what are your parents' final wishes. So things like, is there a power of attorney in place? So in the event, God forbid, say your parent can't make wise, critical thinking decisions, or there's something medically happens to them or they're unable to make medical decisions, financial decisions, do you have a power of attorney in place? Who's going to be the point of contact if your parent or your loved one can't make those type of decisions? Do they have a will or a trust? What type of living arrangements need to be made when you find your parent can't live on their own anymore? Who's going to live with them? Does your parent, in terms of life transition, does your parent want a DNR if they fall ill at the hospital and they're unconscious or can't speak? If you don't know what a DNR is, do not resuscitate. So, do they want to be resuscitated if they are unconscious? Do you know what your parent wants? What does your parent want regarding final arrangements when they do pass? Do they want a big fancy funeral? Do they want something small? Or do they want to just be cremated? These are some of the questions you have to have a discussion and find out from your parent. I know it's awkward and uncomfortable, but phrase it with them like, Mom, Mom or Dad, I want to give you your final wishes as you deem fit, as you would want. I just don't know what you would like me to do when your final transition occurs. What would you like me to know? What would you like me to do? Because I want to honor your wishes. Phrase it like that. Also, is there a list of people or contacts that you have if something happens to them? For example, like in the emergency context beyond that, but are there a list of people that that they would want, quote, at their funeral or to be notified that they're passing? With this in mind, if your parent is able, then have them share the input and feedback. Understand in some cases your parent or a parent may be resistant, but you want to try to do your best to find a compromise and do what's best for your situation. I know the conversation's not an easy one, but the sooner you have this conversation, have the answers, the better you'll feel, and it'll make things a bit easier down the line. So one of the lessons I've learned is that the reality of caregiving and managing your life and your family, it's a juggling act. So start preparing for the future to lessen the burden as to what's to come down the line. I know for us in our own lives, personal lives, I can attest that my dad was prepared in terms of having a will or a POA in place, has life insurance in place, and we know that his DNR request, what that choice he made for himself, we know what he would want us to do in that instance as well, and we're prepared in that regard. I did say that we are, in terms of wills and all that stuff, he does have a will as well. And so we are prepared in that way. But in other ways, like financially, that's a whole different conversation. You have to go back to the episode where I talk about, what happens when the person you're caring for, where there is no big trust fund. So that's our reality too. But in terms of the most important things, in terms of decisions that need to be made, my sister and I, Dee and I, we both understand where my father's wishes are. So we're prepared in that way. So in that regard, it makes it a little bit easier. But at the end of the day, you want to create peace of mind through preparation. So I wonder if any of this resonated with you guys. Would there be any other tips that you would add regarding preparing, like for, in terms of caregiving and final life transition? Share your comments and feedback. I'd love to know and share your thoughts and read your comments. But as for now, thank you so much for listening and taking the time out of your day. If today's episode helps you feel seen and supported, kindly take a second to follow the show and share it with another caregiver who could use a little encouragement. You can also connect with me on the website linked in the description or wherever you get your podcasts, including Spotify and Apple Podcasts, to keep the conversation going. Until next time, take care of yourself and remember, you're doing better than you think. Bye.